I'm very excited to have you here and to learn from you. I've been working in pharma, so I know your world very well. We can all learn a lot how you manage this, and also in relation with your function and activities which you're doing in SHEpharma here in Spain. So welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you. And thank you very much for inviting me. I'm not an expert or guru in stress management, but I do have my, let's say, my secrets to keep me afloat. So I'm happy to share.
How are you
I'm
feeling
good, and
after
you?
after a long day? Yeah, I was thinking after sort of the end of the working day, doing a podcast. How do you manage that?
It was my, it was the only possibility that I had until last of April. I have most of my days booked, so it's completely crazy because now we're with the sales cycle meeting and we have a lot of topics on our plate. So it was completely overwhelmed my Outlook agenda. So this is the best time.
What do you do to stay sharp until the end of the day?
I drink a lot of matcha, which is good. I start my day with a yoga practice. I do like a 30-minute yoga practice before I jump into work. And that also helps me stay grounded, especially when I need to deal with stress, stressful things. This helps me stay grounded.
It's about that. It's about learning a lot and sharing what your strategies are in a world where you already started to say that, where there is a lot of Outlook is totally full with meetings and requests and must do's and need to do. So everybody has his own strategies, and people, yeah, can learn something from that, but also recognize the difficulties in being and staying grounded. I really like to learn that from you, and also with the relation of SHEpharma. I saw you posting recently on LinkedIn about your break, about
Mhm.
reflections, about taking off. Is that also one of your secrets to stay grounded and come back with a sharper mindset?
It is. It is. From time to time, I really, I think we should rest every day. We should have like mini rituals that you implement on a daily basis so that you can refill your cup with energy. But I also think it's important from time to time to really disconnect. So to be without your cell phone, to be without your laptop. So to have, to don't have like a to-do list and no meetings so that you can really disconnect and come back with your batteries charged and with full energy to to continue the work that you do, whether it's only your daily job or if in my case I also have the SHEpharma initiative on top. And although this SHEpharma initiative, so it's a passion of mine, it's a pro bono activity as of now, and we started off this initiative to really inspire more women also to continue developing their career and to pursue their development goals in terms of and even if this is totally satisfying for me to put together this face-to-face sessions and the LinkedIn live sessions as well, it's also more work on top of what I do normally. So I think it's super important to really disconnect from time to time and to be without laptop or cell phone and just be doing the activities that one enjoys.
And how long were you away? And what do you then also start to notice differently?
So I was away for 5 days. I was in Mallorca, so I wasn't that far away, but just to be in a different spot, doing different things. I don't know, I did yoga classes in the morning, and then in the afternoon I went for hiking, and then I went for sightseeing and so on. And just disconnecting from my normal daily life. So it's just changing the scenery. The set was, for me, it was enough to charge my batteries.
And how do you feel that your battery is charged?
When normally I'm getting a little bit tired and so on, so I have trouble sleeping, or when I don't know, when I wake up, I don't feel as refreshed. When I came back from this mini break, I noticed that I was already sleeping better. So, and the days started better because I was also eating better during my holidays. I took some time, to do the meals and, with all the time in the world. So, and these little shifts during these 5 days, they mount up to a lot of changes when I came back. And normally this happens to me. I sleep better, and now I have more energy.
And what do you do exactly now to keep also that?
For me, it's very important to have daily rituals. So
Hmm.
there are two things that I do on a daily basis if I'm not traveling, which is a 30-minute yoga practice each morning before starting to work. And the second is drinking matcha. When I change the coffee, I drink coffee as well, but when I know I'm going to have a more stressful day with more meetings, so back to back meetings, if I drink matcha during the day, I don't have this high and lows of energy. So it's much more stable. And this helps me to be better, so more concentrated, and especially if I need to jump from one topic to another. So these two daily rituals help me a lot.
I'm not an expert on matcha. I drink it also, but only in the morning because I thought it has the same or similar effect as
Mm-hmm.
caffeine, although in lower doses.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes. Well, it has it helps you stay with your energy steadier than with cafe with cafe, because with coffee you have a high peak of
Yes.
energy, and then you had a drop of energy. Thank you. And with matcha, it helps you stay focused on a much longer basis without these highs and lows, so which is good. So
So you feel more like steady during the day.
yes, yes, yes. And I don't feel the need, for instance, with the caffeine, when I don't know, 2 hours, 1 hour after you drink the first coffee, then you have, because you're in the low, then you have the need to drink another one, right? And with the matcha, at least for me, I can drink two, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and then I don't feel those highs and lows. So I stay, pretty much stable in terms of energy during all morning and afternoon.
Yeah, so it's not that you drink constantly matcha during the
No,
day. No, twice.
no.
So,
Twice. Yes,
otherwise, you would not sleep so well, I think.
exactly, because it's exactly.
But you started to say, I sleep better and then I feel better. So it's all related. It all starts with sleeping.
It all starts with sleeping. For me, yes. For me, the sleeping part is important. And as we grow older, I don't know how about you, Sylvia, but for me, I tend to sleep worse than I used to. So I could sleep anywhere. Even if I had dinner, I could sleep 30 minutes afterwards. I could go to a club and sleep in the club. Nowadays, all the conditions need to be reunited so that I can have a good night's rest. 3 hours before going to bed, I don't eat anything, or I try not to eat anything. I try to not watch movies or I don't know, Netflix series, whatever, 2 hours before going to bed. I read before going to bed. So I have to do a lot of rituals in order to have a good night's sleep. And I don't know, in my 20s or in my 30s, this didn't happen.
So that's another ritual because you mentioned firstly two, but then this, the preparation for a good night of sleep is
Yes,
then the third ritual in a
exactly.
way. Yeah. Yeah. Sleeping better is waking up better and then managing also the ups and downs of the day better.
Exactly.
It's also
Exactly.
proven, I think, that women, when getting older, get more difficulties in sleeping. So the whole preparation and sleep is definitely an important topic.
Yes, yes. The other day I was reading that in terms of sleeping, that we need to have at least, I think it is between 5 to 25% of deep sleep. So it's
Yeah.
not a lot, but you really need to have this. And the more you have, so the closer to 25, the better. And with people, especially as women, with the hormonal changes and so on, we tend to decrease the time that we spend on profound sleep. So Yeah, we should really have this pre-night ritual so that we can start the other day with energy, or else you start already tired.
Are you measuring that in some way?
I
Your
am
sleep
with
quality?
my
Ah,
Oura.
yeah. Yeah.
I am, but this is pretty recent. So I bought this 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago to check how I sleep, because sometimes I wake up and thought, did I have a good night's sleep? I don't know. So this really helps me to check and to track what needs to be corrected, and it gives some recommendations, and more than the perception, because sometimes you can woke up, no, and think that you have had a good night's rest, and it's not indeed the case. This really helps to track if you really had a good night's sleep or not, and what you can do to improve.
What is the biggest insight you got from the tracking?
That the hour that I go to sleep is really important. I didn't know that this was as important as the other rituals that I already did. So I already knew that I had to not eat 3 hours before going to bed and so on, but I did not know that the hour was super important. And because the profound sleep normally happens between, or should happen between, midnight to 3 a.m. So you should go to bed earlier. And for me, most of the times, even on working, I would go to bed, I would eat, I don't know, I would go to bed half past midnight, and I thought this was okay, right? And I would wake up at 7, and it's not. It's not. Even if you rest all night, you need to go to bed before midnight so that you can really take full, let's say, so that you can have this full recovery because of the profound sleep that you're going to gain if you start earlier and have all this period available.
I'm living also in Spain, and not eating 3 hours before you go to bed is quite a challenge
It
because
is.
the time that people are having dinner here is normally between 9 and 10 p.m., which I'm not used to, and I try to avoid also those timing. Especially so what did you change?
During the week, so in the weekends, it's really hard, as you said, because it's super difficult uh, have dinner before 9:30 p.m. So it's practically impossible. But during the week, so I try to have dinner around 8:30, so no
Mhm.
later than that. What if even if I have to work late, I didn't have this in consideration, and now I do.
Yeah, it's awareness, giving more clarity, and then is it really feasible to implement it in your day to day life? Of course, that is then another thing. But if you really want to improve, you will find ways. Maybe not all the days, but at least
Exactly.
a part of the days. You're doing a lot. You mentioned already SHEpharma and inspiring, stimulating, helping other women to increase visibility. Can you describe a bit more about what you exactly is your aim with SHEpharma, and how also this could be related to stress, to inner stability, to grounding?
So our core mission is to really empower women and the talent itself to pursue their career goals with no limits. And what I've come to realize throughout my professional journey is that these limits, most of the times, they are not imposed by others. So of course there's the glass ceiling and so on, but there's also some internal limits. So She Pharma really wants to assure that we have this community of people that help each other grow. And our goal is that each and every one of us can really fulfill their potential with no limitations. So, no external and no internal limitations.
And how are you succeeding in that?
So we do have a very big community right now. So we have more than 4,000 people. I would say that 70% of the people that go to our sessions, they're recurrent. So they go to each and every session. And what we came to realize is that a simple session, with speakers sharing their own experiences, has made a huge difference on everyone's lives. And it's not the difference of moving from one position to another as well, but also it has made a difference on how people perceive their own development and what they're willing to invest, and the confidence that they need to put forward to really grow in their career. So, and to do that without second thoughts. This is great. For me, success looks like something that you feel, you have an ambition, you want to pursue your goal, but that you do not miss who you are. You do not miss your authenticity. And this also means for me being true to your grounding principles, being true to being balanced with oneself. So that's also the type of speakers and the type of leaders that we also invite to our face-to-face sessions. So people that have this balance. So people that bring their full self to work, that bring their full self to to their leadership style. And this means also managing both their professional and personal life, so in a way that matches their own identity and their own lifestyle.
Yeah, I've been to one of those events, and that was extremely inspiring about women CEOs on stage. All these advices and suggestions, I find it really very, very inspirational. And also afterwards, having the possibilities to interact with persons you normally don't meet in daily life. So it gives you also a possibility to really get one step closer to that level of leadership.
Yes. And I think it kind of makes these people more human. And when you see them as more human, you see them as more feasible for you to achieve it. I remember once that we had Maria Cordeiro. She's the CEO of a cosmetic company. And she is the mother of five, right? And no one in their mind thought, how can a mother of five be a CEO? And she shared her story and how she juggles between her professional and personal life, and how her being a CEO and fulfilling her own ambitions makes her a better mother and a better example for her children. Sometimes these people also help us to to realize that this is possible when you do have these authentic people, no, that bring their full self to work and their full life.
Yeah, it's creating, is showing that if others can do it, it's maybe also possible for you. And by sharing, you learn about what worked in their story. There's definitely recognition, feeling that it could be possible for you. That's really empowering. Absolutely. Now, in a corporate environment, it's sometimes not easy to be completely yourself. You need to be sometimes more political than in other situations. Sometimes you forget completely where your authenticity is. The more authentic you are, the more you feel closer to yourself, the more you speak up, the more you raise your hands, the more people will value for what you have to offer. How do you remain authentic in a corporate environment?
Yeah, I've seen a change in the last 5 years, and also a change in the different layers of a company. So currently I'm working in a local role,
Yeah.
but I used to work both in local and regional roles. And I do believe that at the local level, it's easier for one to be authentic in the way that you have to deal with a lot of urgencies, a lot of topics that are priority for you they had from yesterday. So it's very difficult for you not to be authentic when you have to deal with time pressure. I also feel that depending on the layer of the company that you're at, the political side of it changes. In the last 5 years, the
Yeah.
things have dramatically changed, and this is due to the new generations. So the Z generation coming in, they also want a more approachable environment. They are more straightforward in terms of their own needs, in terms of work-life balance. They have different expectations. They do not live to work, they work to live. They have a different mindset. And this has also changed the work environment in so many ways. I get to work with people younger than me and older as well, but I notice that the people younger than me, they have different expectations, and they bring their full selves and they also require that you bring your full self to work. So I think that the new generations have also helped to keep, the work environment a little bit more authentic.
And that is specifically on a local level, and on a more sort of regional or global level.
Yeah. Local, currently.
Local. And what is the big difference then of working on a regional level?
Well, I would say that the urgency is different, because you get to handle the let's say the challenges on a more immediate basis. The rhythm is different. One of the good things of working in local role is that you get to have this contact more with the HCP, so you get to know the reality, you get to know first-hand experience of what their challenges, what are the opportunities, and when you do implement something, you can really see that patients are being better treated by the feedback that the HCP gives you. So, and that's really rewarding. On a regional level, for me, there was also things that I really liked, because you get to work with people from all around the world that have different cultures, different mindset, and you get to see so many different realities and get to learn so much from those realities, which is also very enriching. So I think that both have sweet spots.
I agree. I agree. So what I hear you saying is the fact that you're more underground level when you're working on a local role, you need to be authentic to manage all this, because there is no other way to manage with the day-to-day activities, solutions, urgencies, and activities going on. Yeah.
Yes.
And there is always one. There is always one. Yes.
Exactly. You are constantly caught off guard, which is not bad, but you need to constantly adapt. If you're not flexible, and authentic,
It's going to be hard also, because if you're not flexible and authentic, you become rigid and you become more stressed, which is not helping in an environment which is constantly asking for your attention and awareness, evidently.
completely.
You said very briefly, and I was fascinated about the different generations of work. You mentioned, like, okay, the younger generation have a different energy, and then there is even a generation above you, and then you're maybe in the middle. How does that work if you look to that from a stress and friction and communication perspective?
I think that the millennials and the X generation, we're a little bit more, I wouldn't say it's not responsible, the word that I'm looking for, but we are more work conscious, meaning that if there's a deadline, we are going to deliver the deadline no matter what. And I think the Zeta generation is a little bit more flexible on that. They say, why the deadline is this day? If this day we already have this, can we not move this forward? And we are never, I never question a deadline, never. And I see that the younger generations do. So they really challenge more the status quo than the other generation. Like, sometimes the communication clash comes with this particular mindset, because we are not used to challenge status quo. We are used to, yes, to have different perspectives, yes, to bring innovation, but not challenge the status quo as much as the younger generation. And I get to learn a lot from working with younger people, because they also make me think. So not only because they are so much into all the new technologies, so which is really cool, but also because they make me also think, how should I manage my priorities? We have been told, the millennial generation, to put a lot of effort in your work, to dedicate a lot of hours to your work, which is okay if you really feel that fulfillment and you really feel compelled to. But I do think they're more equipped to balance better work and life. I do believe so. Sometimes also to an extreme, because sometimes they're a little less receptive, to put a lot of hard work during a certain period, if they don't see where this is leading them to. And sometimes you just need to, to deliver and to keep going.
And how, in the end, does that influence the output, the results, your projects you need to lead? What is the consequence of this behavior, or the differences in behavior between the generations?
From my experience so far, this has not affected the work quality nor the delivery. It's more on the, let's say, on the mindset level. For me, it's a good mix. It's a good mix, because sometimes we, the millennials, we have been working for so many years that we take things for granted, and we also don't question some other things. And the younger generations, they do question. So you have more friction, of course, because if you have two people that have different mindsets, you have more friction. But I think that the outcome is better. The outcome is better. And that's my experience, that the outcome is better. You take more time to get to an agreed solution, but when you do, the outcome is better for all parts. So for the people, for the business.
And who is then changing the most perspective, the younger generation or the you generation?
I think my generation, to be honest, my generation, yes. At least in my case, yes.
I like to follow or interact with the younger people to just learn how to think differently. It's inspirational, not always easy, like you said. Sometimes you can get the first troubles to find this alignment, but when you go, you go.
Exactly. And one of the things that I like as well is I remember so growing up that I had, the role models, in my head in terms of work, for instance. And these role models, I normally looked at them only from a professional perspective. More and more, the new generations, they look for role models, but not only from a professional perspective. They really look at the role models from a 360 perspective. So how they manage their life, what are their hobbies, what are they interested in. Uh, they do value much more what the person brings to the table and not only what their professional achievements have been. And this is a way of looking at people from a much more authentic perspective, right? And I think that these generations also look for this authentic leadership much more than we used to, right? So I remember, so for me, the role models, they were people that were very bright and were very hardworking, and they had achieved a lot of important milestones in their career, but I wasn't giving that much importance to how they were as a person. And now I am as well. So
And how does authentic leadership look for you? What is that?
So for me, someone who walks the talk, and put it very simply, someone who walks the talk. So nobody is perfect and nobody needs to pretend that they're perfect, but it's someone who is consistent and coherent. So their actions are consistent with what they say. If I had to name one, this is the most important trait of authentic leadership.
And that's how you show up yourself as well, I assume.
I try to. I try to. Yes, I
And
try.
what are the moments that it doesn't work?
We all have to pass on messages that we are not fully in line with, and there could be this contradiction between what you're saying to what you believe. And when this happened to me at the beginning of my career, I stick to what I had to say. Now, if I have to say something and I have to stand by something, I am clear about what is my perspective, whether or not I agree with some action that needs to be taken, but I'm a little bit more transparent about what is my opinion around that. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy to be honest, but I think it pays the effort, and I think that people value that that you are being honest, and yeah, I think
So
it pays off.
from I understand, you communicate something, and then you also address that this is not the message you completely, that you
Yes,
have also a different opinion. Yes.
yes, I do that, and I explain why. And it's not explaining saying that I am right because I could be wrong, but this is how I perceive things.
It's very brave.
Yes. So far, I didn't have to do this with many things. So this has happened a couple of times and with topics that weren't that crucial. This happens to everyone during their career. I will probably have to do something that I will not be totally in line with. I will express my opinion. I want to be brave enough to do that, even in hard topics.
Yeah, it's important, and it's also creating that ground in you in the leadership to feel confident enough to communicate that. And it's also true that sometimes they need to convey messages which are not the ones which could be in line with you, but since you have a role, it's expected from you to do so. So if you find a way to navigate that, I think it's courageous. And I see also in some of your posts on LinkedIn, I see a lot of authenticity, but also vulnerability, sharing your disappointments early on in your career, or about imposter syndrome, or that you can turn things around, about learning from mistakes instead of shaming about this topic of remain disappointment. What is the reason for sharing those stories more and more?
Most of the times we see on LinkedIn that people that have, like see the executive sharing their personal stories, which is okay. But I do miss more people sharing their own personal stories, people like me, people that are growing in their career journey, that don't have, yet this C-suite executive position, but we all have stories to share. And I think sharing more and more helps also other people that are on my position to feel that, well, this is also happening to her. So it's normal that it happens to me. So I think that we need to normalize, to be honest, the failure, because everyone is going to fail. The importance is how we deal with failure. So for me, it's important to share this so that people like me, they can feel identified. Because when you see some global CEO sharing a personal failure, it's okay, but then maybe you don't feel as connected to that story because it's so far ahead from you. And if there's regular person sharing a story about failure and you see that, okay, this happens to other people besides me, it kind of gives the confidence and the trust, for someone to keep going.
Yeah, to just keep, because it's more relatable, and that makes
Exactly.
also motivational to do that. And I read, of course, always this the positive turn, what you have learned from the failure and how you can navigate this. And who is succeeding without failures in the end? Nobody as well. So when you are super stressed, what happens to you?
So when I'm super stressed, I tend to disconnect. So when I'm super stressed, I know, because I know myself, I know that I cannot provide, any feedback answer when I'm super stressed. So I need to digest it. For me, that's important. I think there are three ways that we deal with stress. There are people who lose their logic, there are people who lose their empathy, and there are people who lose their authenticity. I think I'm a person who loses their reasoning. So as I am aware of that, when I am very stressful, I tend to not give an answer in the moment. I tend to, okay, let me sit this back with me and have a check and double check it, and then I'll come back to you. So that's what I normally do when I'm super stressed. I try not to answer on the spot.
And do you also notice something in your body changing?
Yes, and my hands start to feel really sweaty. Yes, and I get to feel the tension in my body. So, and most of the times, before I came to realize it from a mental perspective, I do have the body signals.
Yeah,
It's like, what's happening? And then it kind of ramps up. Okay.
there it goes. There it goes.
Yes.
The body always starts. And then the realization, okay, I'm in the wrong corner now. And how do you get back to your clarity and your de stressing in the moment? Because you cannot always go 5 days off. So, in that moment, what do you do?
Sometimes I do some breathe work, like the 4x4. I inhale 4 times, I hold the breath 4 times, and then I exhale 4 times, and then I remain still 4 times, and then I do this again, back and forth. Or sometimes, depending on the situation, I just reserve myself the right to not provide any feedback, provide any answer, and just say, okay, I'll come back to you with that.
Oh, that's also good because then you can also not give the wrong answer in that moment. That's what's happening a lot of times, that you start that you just continue, but because you lose your clarity, you also, maybe what you say is not so right anymore, or what you do is not so right anymore. You start to make wrong decisions.
Exactly. Exactly. One needs to know oneself, meaning that people react differently to stress. And I think it's important that we know which are our triggers, right? Because people also have different triggers. And for me, stress can happen for a multitude of reasons different than for you, Sylvia. I think it's important in all of these stress management topics. I think it's very important that one knows him herself very well, because we are all going to have stress in a lot of moments in our life, both professional and personally, and we should really know which triggers us and basically have this this go-to mechanism that can help us release the stress when we feel it.
And how did you find out your triggers?
With the years, I think, being exposed to them.
Living it through experiences.
Exactly. So very experientially, exactly.
I didn't realize sometimes that things were a shortcut of my brain and that I reacted. And I didn't realize it was connected to stress. So it took me myself a while. I also didn't know when I was in corporate working that I was chronically stressed because that is being so normalized. And I read today a report of Gallup about the workplace environment. And I see that it's 40% of people say that they're daily stressed. Okay, experience through the years, it's not so easy immediately to connect all the dots. What made you realize that it was stress?
I think the sweaty hands, for me, it's a huge indicator that it's stress. In terms of physical response. But it's true. Sometimes, as you said, sometimes it's very difficult because there are micro stresses. When it comes to sweaty hands, you already are in, at least myself, in a very high level of stress, or medium to high, right?
Orange zone, I call that.
Exactly. But it's true what you mentioned. So there are a lot of micro stress during the day that they're like disguised, and you cannot tell if it's stress or not, because most of the times we are so used to live that, or to live it on a daily basis, that it's difficult for us to really pinpoint and say this is stress, this is not stress. And it's, I would like to know, to be honest, how to, because I do not know. Let's see if my aura can help me with that, because I also bought the ring for that, to really, pinpoint what is stress, and you normalize it as being, and it's stress.
The aura rate, I don't know, I'm using a Garmin, and the Garmin gives always your stress levels. It's on my pulse, the ring you have on your finger. At least it could give an indication, of course. But it's most important that you, from my experience, start listening to the body signals. You have the sweaty hands, then you're already in the orange. Well, when you are stressed, you have a quicker breathing. Your heart rate goes a little bit up. You start to speak quicker. You start to walk quicker. Yeah, you make your vision a little bit more narrow. That's the general things of stress. So that could be indicating if you are sort of entering this orange zone.
Don't you think there are some micro stresses that you normalize and they're already stresses, but you're not really in tune to, right?
Absolutely. I was chronically stressed, but totally didn't realize that. But I had, for example, I had hypertension.
Mm-hmm.
I was also treated for that, and I had pain in my body. Like I like to run, and then I got sort of stiffer in my muscles, and no physician could really help to get rid of the pain. I'm less stressed now. I don't use medication anymore, and I run pain free. So there is something there which I didn't capture because it has been so normalized. And when you're living longer under stress, you everything gets more rigid. And when things are getting more rigid, your breathing, your muscles, your fascia, then pain starts to appear. A stiff neck, a lower back pain. So yeah, then it's already too long by all these little spikes during the day, during the weeks, during the months, of course.
Yes.
A way could be checking your breathing rate. What is your breathing frequency per minute? The lower, the better. So then when you have a lower breathing frequency, you also have a lower heart rate, which is, connected. And that also makes you have more clarity in your head. So that could be always an easy check-in, like you do the box breathing when you already notice when you are in the orange zone. Just checking in more on a day-to-day basis to see and to understand how are you reacting, what's happening. If somebody pops up in your office and throw new targets and new deadlines on your desk, that is a stress moment. Although it has been normalized because this happens every day, it is a stress moment because it interferes with your normal flow.
will
And I
be
think also
more.
when you just came back now, you feel the differences, how you felt when you came back and when you go back to the office. So what needs to happen to bridge that, to get that feeling back?
Yes, it's true. I'm not completely against stress because I think that stress also has a positive impact because it propels you to move things forward.
Absolutely.
For me, ideally, or what I would like to achieve, which is very difficult, but ideally is that the stress doesn't go beyond what's, I don't know, what's physiologically safe for your body. So when it goes to this orange zone and when you feel that this is really, making you feel sick or making you feel not good, I think this is where the stress shouldn't go beyond that area. But it's so difficult to have this balance, and how can we achieve this balance, and what do we need to do? So that's a difficult. That's
It's about self-regulation. So of course, like, I agree. Sometimes stress. You get your deadlines. You run your races. You need it to be sharp and focused because that's where you use your adrenaline for. As long as every day you can switch off and get back to the green zone. You need to balance it out. That is super important. Breathing is a very important and easy checking in indicator, and I guess your Aura ring will also give some insight.
hmm.
Did you have the ring with you when you were 5 days off?
Yes, I had. And even then, I was surprised. I had a very relaxed mini break. So I didn't do, well, I did some hiking and some yoga in the morning and so on, but I was very peaceful. And the ring, from time to time, told me that I had physiological stress. And I was like, but what? Why is this stress? So where is this coming from? So I'm basically very peaceful and so on, but I think he interprets every, I don't know, every difference in my heart beat and so on. He interprets this as a minor stress. So I'm still trying to figure this out because I've had the ring for 5 years, but I was quite surprised to see that on this mini break, he registered some physiological stress.
It's not that when you are in working from day to day, a high pace, and then you go down, everything all of a sudden is calm and quiet. Huh? It
Yeah,
also needs some time. It's good to realize that and see if you see differences between what you had there and what your scores now. It's an indication of trusting first what you feel and see if you recognize what you feel in the app, and then you learn to read also the data, which
I will do it. I will let you know as soon as I have a little bit more data because it's cool to have the data and then to ask yourself, so why did this happen and what am I feeling? So it's, you kind of, I realize that I'm now questioning much more how I feel than I used to because I see the data, and if the data is not matching, I kind of, try to replay what happened and try to come to some conclusions. So I think it's a good exercise.
yeah, and that's a good thing. Yes. Yeah, yeah. I'm interested to see what you learn from it. It must not be the guidance. I think it must be supportive and see if you can optimize it and
Hmm.
also increasing that awareness. That is already the good thing. As I hear you saying here, that you increase more awareness about what's happening in your body, because we live a lot of times in our head and then we forget that we have the rest, the supporting system with us.
Exactly, completely. It's like that.
You were away, and always I have so my places where I go to relax, completely calm down. If I ask you about mountains or sea, what is your preference
See,
place?
see.
The sea. What does the sea gives you?
So it's very difficult for me to really to have my mind with no thoughts whatsoever. Very, very difficult. So for me, meditation is really, really tough. And the only times that I get to have this, my mind completely, mm, I wouldn't say blank, but at least completely well, with no thoughts coming up, is when I'm doing yoga, because I need to concentrate, and when I'm looking at the sea. It has this hypnotic effect on me. I'm seeing the waves and I'm not focusing on my thoughts. I'm just focusing on the waves. So, hypnotic effect, I would say.
And if I ask you about cold or warm, what would be your to go?
Warm, warm.
And what is the warmth giving you?
Relaxation, I think, as well. When I'm too cold, I'm stressed out. So, I prefer warm weather.
That we're good at this moment. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful period coming now. If somebody is listening and is inspired about your leadership story and the things you're doing also with SHEpharma, what are the three things you would like to give as an advice, as a suggestion, as a start doing this?
So, for me, I would say the first thing, trust yourself. Even when you have just failed. I think for us women, sometimes it's difficult to fully trust ourselves, especially when we are not performing as we think we should. But this is super important, because what I came to realize is that if you're not trusting yourself, it's very difficult for others also to trust you. And this the first step of anything, whether in your career, whether in your personal life. So trust yourself, even with your flaws, even with your failures. So for me, this would be my first advice. And this is not easy. I don't think this is easy. At least for me, it wasn't easy. The second advice that I would give is reach out for help when you need it. Sometimes we want to do all by ourselves. We want to be feel that we can handle everything all by ourselves. So no man is an island. We should reach out to people if we have doubts, if we want to understand something from a different perspective. We should reach out. We should not, have the weight of the world in our backs. And this is also very easy to say and very difficult to follow. And the third thing I would say is to enjoy life, to enjoy every moment. Sometimes we are so much focused on the end result, on what we want to achieve, on the goal that we want to reach, that we forget to live life. And then when we look behind, we see, so I had such an amazing time and I did not take full advantage because I was so much focused on the future. So live the present, enjoy life. That would be my third advice as well.
And all these three advices are you are implementing those in daily life nowadays?
I try to, not all the time, not on all occasions, but I try to. I reflect, why am I skipping this? So what what part of me is making me skip this? What do I still need to, to unlock, or what do I still need to digest that is not making me really put this into practice?
I hear you reflecting a lot about your own processes, your own growth, your own leadership journey, about improvement. And now you have the aura, so you will also improve your health. Is that a prerequisite to grow as a person, to grow as a female leader?
I think so. And especially for us women, that our body goes through so much changes during our lifetime, whether it is through pregnancy, whether it is through menopause, whether it is through perimenopause. So we have so many changes that we really need to take care of our health, because our health is also our mental health. And this is super important for us to achieve our goals. So if we do not lead healthy lives, and if we do not manage how to take care of our body, we cannot have the life that we're destined to have. So
Thank you very much, Patricia. I think it's a very strong closure.
I really enjoyed, Sylvia. Thank you for
Although
the
I think we could have talked for hours still. It's really nice to hear your perspective. Yes, on many of the leadership, the issues, the difficulties, but also your authenticity. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I had a lot of fun. I do think this is a very important topic, stress management. Nowadays, it's getting more and more visibility, because topics around mental health, which is very important because we are living in such a strange moment with many good things, but also some things that are a little bit stressful, that this topic is important, that we give more visibility and that we address it. It's the basis for everything. You cannot have a fulfilled life if you are not mentally fit. It's super important, and thank you also for giving visibility to this topic and to normalize it.
Have a nice evening and thank you
You
for your
too,
time,
Sylvia.
Patricia.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.